I didn't come to the Philippines expecting to question everything I knew about beauty, confidence, and self-worth. I came because I was tired, mentally exhausted. In Ukraine, beauty standards can be a battlefield. Tall, slim, perfect skin, sharp jawline, endless grooming rituals, expensive skincare routines, and the constant pressure to look effortlessly elegant. Back home, it sometimes felt like your value rose or fell with the glow of your highlighter. I wanted to escape that noise for a while. The Philippines was never really on my travel list, but one night, I saw a viral video of a Filipina girl dancing in the rain in a flooded street with the purest smile I'd ever seen. No makeup, no filters, just happiness. And something in me whispered, "Go there." So I packed a small suitcase, booked the cheapest flight I could find, and suddenly I was stepping off the plane into Manila's thick, humid air with no idea how this trip would change me. My first impression of Filipino beauty came from the airport alone. Everywhere I looked, people were glowing. Not perfect model glow, but this healthy, warm, joyful aura. Their skin wasn't porcelain, it was sun-kissed. Their hair wasn't styled to perfection, it was simply natural. And yet they were beautiful in a way that felt real, approachable, and refreshing. But the real shock came when I heard my first Filipino compliment. "Ma'am, you're so beautiful, so tall, nose so high," the immigration officer said with a friendly grin. I blinked. Back in Ukraine, compliments were rare and subtle. People might notice beauty, but they whispered it. Filipinos? They hand out compliments like free candy. I laughed awkwardly and said thank you, but internally I was confused. High nose? That's something people compliment here? In Ukraine, we obsess over cheekbones, eye shape, jawline, but noses rarely get this much attention unless it's about rhinoplasty. Suddenly, I felt like a fantasy character who had stepped into a world where her most average trait was a national treasure. Then came the next surprise. As I rolled my suitcase outside, a group of young Filipino women waved excitedly at me. "Miss Ukraine! Miss Ukraine!" they shouted jokingly. I froze. In my country, I'm attractive, but I'm not a model. I've never won any beauty award. My hair frizzes in humidity. I get pimples on stressful days. But here, strangers were treating me like a celebrity. At first, it was funny. Then I felt shy, then embarrassed. And then I felt something I barely felt back home. Appreciated. The next day, I went to a small mall in Quezon City to buy a local SIM card. While walking around, I noticed posters and advertisements featuring celebrities. What shocked me most was the diversity. Morena, mestiza, chinita, plus-sized, petite, tall, curly-haired, straight-haired. The variety was huge. I realized that Filipino beauty isn't just about how you look. It's about charisma, presence, the energy you give off. But then I noticed something else. Whitening products, everywhere. Whole aisles dedicated to whitening soaps, whitening lotions, whitening scrubs, whitening deodorants, whitening shampoo, whitening everything. Even whitening sunscreen, which made no sense to me. Isn't sunscreen supposed to prevent damage, not make you lighter? I stared at the shelves, confused. A part of me felt sad. Filipinos are naturally beautiful with their gorgeous brown sun-kissed skin, yet so many seem to want to be lighter. In Ukraine, we worship tanned skin. Girls pay to get darker. Beaches are crowded with women trying to achieve the perfect bronze glow. And here, it was the opposite. As I walked, a Filipino woman approached me with a smile. "Ma'am, try this whitening soap. So effective." I laughed politely and said I didn't need it. She automatically assumed fairness was desirable for everyone. And I wondered, do Filipinos know how beautiful their natural skin tone is? The warm brown shades I saw all around the Philippines were the exact skin tones women in Europe pay hundreds of dollars to imitate. That night, I stayed in a simple Airbnb room in Makati. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt strange. In Ukraine, I sometimes felt average, unseen, judged for not being perfect. But in the Philippines, I suddenly felt like I shined in ways I never expected. It wasn't vanity. It was the warmth Filipinos showed me. Their compliments, their openness, their way of seeing beauty in things we Europeans take for granted. The next day, I rode a jeepney for the first time. The driver immediately said, "Miss, ikaw na pinakamagandang pasahero namin ngayon." "Miss, you're the prettiest passenger today." Everyone laughed, and I turned red like a tomato. But it wasn't creepy. It was light, funny, wholesome. Filipinos have a way of teasing that feels like a hug. As we drove, I asked the young woman beside me what Filipinos consider beautiful. She didn't hesitate. Confidence, a good smile, someone mabait, and, of course, tall nose. There it was again. The mythical Filipino obsession with the tall nose. I touched my nose instinctively and laughed. "Why nose?" I asked. She grinned and said, "Because it's cute, and rare, and social." Her honesty made me smile. Beauty, I realized, is partly rooted in what's uncommon in a culture. Here, where most people have low bridges and softer features, my sharper features stood out. Back home, they were just normal. Later that week, I visited a small community fiesta in Batangas. Kids ran around barefoot. Lola sat by the entrance selling homemade kakanin. Teens sang karaoke under a tent. And every once in a while, someone would tap me on the shoulder and compliment me again. "You're so tall. Your eyes so blue. Your hair so blonde. Are you a model? Are you mixed with angel?" That last one nearly made me choke on my halo. But for the first time in years, beauty felt fun, not a responsibility, not competition, not something to maintain for approval. Beauty was connection. Then something unexpected happened. A Filipina teenager with brown skin and curly hair approached me shyly. "Miss, can I ask something?" "Of course." "Do people in Ukraine think girls like me are beautiful?" Her eyes held genuine curiosity, and maybe a bit of fear. I realized she had probably grown up hearing commercials telling her she needed to be whiter, straighter-haired, more mestiza. I knelt slightly and smiled at her. "In Ukraine, girls pay money to look like you." Her eyes widened. "Talaga? Really?" "Yes, your skin tone is perfect. Your curly hair is beautiful. Your smile is wonderful. You don't need to change anything." Her mother, standing behind her, wiped away a tear. That moment shook me more than any compliment I received since arriving. Filipino beauty standards aren't wrong. They're simply shaped by history, culture, environment, media. But sometimes they make beautiful young girls question themselves unnecessarily. The next few days were a whirlwind of experiences. I attended a wedding where everyone took turns complimenting each other's outfits. I visited a sari-sari store where the Tindera called me Barbie doll, and two men jokingly fought over who would carry my groceries. I even joined a barangay Zumba class where the Lola told me I had very good hips for dancing, a compliment I never received in Ukraine. But the moment that stuck with me happened on a bus ride to Laguna. The woman sitting beside me had acne scars and an uneven tan from walking under the sun. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was tied in a simple ponytail. At one point, she caught me staring absent-mindedly. "Sorry, Po," I said. She smiled warmly. "It's okay, Miss Ukraine." "Do you think you're beautiful?" I asked, surprised by my own curiosity. She laughed with a softness I'll never forget. "Of course. Why not?" I didn't expect that. Her confidence was natural, effortless. She didn't recite affirmations. She didn't dress in designer clothes. She didn't need filters. She simply believed she was beautiful because she existed, because she was loved, because she lived a good life surrounded by caring people. "What makes you think so?" I asked. "My husband reminds me every day," she said with a giggle. "And my kids, Filipinos. We don't need to be perfect to be beautiful." Her answer touched something in me. In Ukraine, I saw countless girls chase perfection. Botox, fillers, diets, flawless skin, and still feel insecure. But here, a simple woman with no makeup felt beautiful because beauty wasn't a competition. It was a feeling. By the end of my first month in the Philippines, my understanding of beauty had completely shifted. I stopped using heavy makeup. I let my hair frizz naturally. I walked under the sun without worrying about tanning too much. I didn't straighten my posture obsessively. I didn't obsess about filters or angles when taking photos. I started smiling more in pictures. Real smiles, not posed ones. Because something about Filipino beauty philosophy seeped into me. Beauty is kindness. Beauty is warmth. Beauty is confidence without arrogance. Beauty is laughter. Beauty is connection. Beauty is being comfortable in your own skin, whether brown, white, blonde, curly, tall, chubby, petite. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel pressured to be perfect. I felt human. I felt appreciated. I felt beautiful in a completely new way. But the real transformation, the one that would change how I viewed myself forever, happened in the next chapter of my journey, when Filipino and Ukrainian beauty standards collided in the most unexpected way, and when one Pinoy said a sentence that rewired my entire understanding of attraction, self-worth, and femininity. She did not expect her third month in the Philippines to be the month when she finally understood Filipino beauty standards, not from observing magazine ads or listening to jokes, but from living inside them, sharing laughter, confusion, and unexpected insights with the people around her. After weeks of learning about the glow, the obsession with hair rebonding, the national love affair with nose bridges, and the mysterious power of whitening products, she thought she had seen everything. But she was wrong. This time, it wasn't about seeing Filipinos from the outside. It was about seeing herself differently through the eyes of the people who welcomed her like family. The realization began one morning in her boarding house in Quezon City, when her landlady knocked on her door and shouted, "Anak, breakfast!" She opened the door and saw a full plate of longanisa, egg, and garlic rice waiting for her on the table. The landlady smiled at her with the same warmth a mother gives her child, and without hesitation said, "You're getting skinny. Eat more para blooming." That sentence confused her so deeply she froze. Back home in Ukraine, losing weight often meant, "You look good." But here, weight gain, specifically healthy chubbiness, was apparently a compliment. She sat down and asked, "So, blooming means gaining weight?" Her landlady laughed. "Yes, because it means Masaya ka." She took a bite of garlic rice and whispered to herself, "In this country, happiness is measured in carbs," and she loved it. She began noticing it everywhere. A co-worker in Makati offered her extra snacks every time they took breaks. "Uy, you look pale. Have some kwek-kwek. Good for blooming." Another colleague insisted on sharing turon, saying the sugar makes the face shiny, but in a good way. In Ukraine, facial shine was something women tried to reduce. Here, it was celebrated as a sign of life and joy. She laughed thinking about it. All her friends back home had drawers full of matte powders. Meanwhile, she was in a jeepney, sweating under the Manila sun, glistening like a freshly fried turon, and people still told her, "Wow, you look fresh today." Somehow the compliment felt real, genuine, and full of affection. Her understanding deepened when she visited a sari-sari store one afternoon. She tried buying a simple conditioner, but the tindera handed her 3 sachets and asked, "Ma'am, gusto mo whitening? Para mas lalo kang pretty." She almost choked on her own laughter. "Miss, I'm already light-skinned." But the tindera responded with sincerity, "Yes, ma'am, but Filipinas love white because we think it looks expensive." That phrase shocked her. Not bad, not offensive, just revealing. Beauty standards here were tied not just to aesthetics but to aspirations. White skin, silky hair, sharp nose, as strange as it sounded, was not merely about beauty but symbolized opportunities, success, and the possibility of a better life. A whole psychological world opened to her, and she found herself respecting the complexity behind it. But the real shift came when she visited a barangay fiesta. She didn't expect to become part of the afternoon gossip circle of Filipino titas, but somehow she did, whether she wanted to or not. One tita took her hand, looked her in the face, and said, "You are so tall. Many young Filipinas want to be tall like you." Another tita touched her hair and added, "And your natural color? Ay, sana all." She felt a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. For the first time, she wasn't just observing Filipino beauty standards. She was becoming part of a conversation where beauty was defined by community affection, not by rigid rules. Then one tita leaned forward and declared, "But you know, the most beautiful girls are the ones who smile even during hard times. That is why Filipinas are beautiful." The entire group nodded. It wasn't a scripted line, it wasn't a pageant quote, it was genuine. In that moment, she finally understood a crucial truth. In the Philippines, beauty was not about perfection, but resilience. If you had the heart to smile, laugh, survive, and share joy with others, you were already beautiful. This new understanding changed the way she looked at Filipino men as well. She had noticed them before, casual, confident in a simple way, not obsessed with looking overly polished. They didn't wear layers of cologne or chase after looking muscular. Instead, they cared more about how they treated people, how they spoke to elders, how they helped strangers. In Ukraine, she knew many men who were handsome but emotionally distant. Here she saw men who weren't afraid to look cute or boyish as long as they were kind. She remembered seeing a Filipino guy in a jeepney giving up his seat for a grandmother, even though he looked exhausted from work. That moment stayed with her. There was beauty in values, not just appearance. But her biggest cultural shock came when she joined a beach trip to Batangas with Filipino friends. They spent the whole day swimming, laughing, taking group photos, and eating grilled fish. When she saw the photos later, she burst out laughing. In almost every picture, she towered over everyone like a Scandinavian tree. But what surprised her was how her Filipino friends reacted. Instead of feeling insecure or intimidated, they proudly commented, "Ang tangkad mo, sana all," and "You look like a model, take more photos." She wasn't used to women complimenting each other so freely. Back home, compliments often carried jealousy or competition. Here, they were pure, warm, and enthusiastic, as if making someone else feel beautiful was a form of generosity. That night, they all sat by the shore, telling stories. One friend jokingly asked her, "Do Ukrainians think Filipinos are beautiful?" She answered without hesitation, "Yes, because you have something rare." They expected her to mention skin tone or body shape or fashion. Instead, she said, "You are beautiful because you make others feel valued." A quietness settled over the group, followed by smiles, wide, genuine smiles that reached their eyes. In that moment, she knew she finally understood what beauty meant in this country. The next week, she experienced something she would never forget. She was waiting in line at a convenience store when a small girl tugged at her sleeve and whispered, "Eight, you're so pretty." She knelt down and asked, "Why do you think so?" The girl replied with complete innocence, "Because you look happy." It was the simplest, most powerful definition of beauty she had ever heard. That night, she messaged her mother in Ukraine and said, "Filipinos measure beauty with the heart, not the mirror." Even the small things made sense now. The way Filipinos said, "Ganda mo today," even when someone looked tired. The way friends hyped each other up with "Sana all." The way strangers smiled at her in jeepneys for no reason. She learned that in this culture, beauty was a shared experience. Filipinos didn't just look for beauty, they created it around them through kindness, humor, and resilience. One of her most emotional moments happened during a large family gathering at her Filipino friend's home. She was sitting at the table, enjoying pancit and caldereta, when the grandmother of the family approached her and said, "You know, anak, beauty fades, but a kind soul never gets old. That is why Filipinos value people who are mabait." Tears filled her eyes. The grandmother hugged her gently and whispered, "You have that kind of beauty." She didn't know what to say. No compliment in her entire life had ever touched her more deeply. Her transformation became complete one afternoon in a mall restroom. She entered, washed her hands, and looked into the mirror. For the first time, she didn't judge herself. She didn't worry about her height, or her pale skin, or whether her face was shiny from the heat. Instead, she smiled, soft, genuine, warm. She felt beautiful not because she met any standard, but because she embraced kindness, joy, and community, the true pillars of Filipino beauty. She stepped out of the restroom and walked into the buzzing crowd of the mall. Vendors called out, kids ran past her laughing, couples held hands, titas bargained for discounts, and the entire place radiated life. She breathed in the chaotic, colorful energy and felt something bloom inside her. She belonged here, not because she fit a beauty standard, but because the people around her taught her how to see beauty in herself and in others. She finally understood that Filipino beauty standards were not contradictions. They were reflections of a culture that valued lightness, humor, resilience, and community. Beauty here was not rigid or harmful. It was fluid, generous, and deeply connected to emotional warmth. It didn't matter if someone was fair or dark, tall or small, slim or curvy. What mattered was softness of heart, strength of spirit, and the ability to smile through storms. She walked through the mall with confidence she never had before. Not the confidence of perfection, but the confidence of belonging. She whispered to herself, "Filipinos taught me how to be beautiful." And for the first time in her life, she believed it completely.